जितने भी पॉलिटिशियन हैं राजपूत, they never help the Rajput. Whenever you go for the community help, they never help and never talk about the Rajput. VP Singh है, his wordsman, ब्राह्मणों को डाउन करने के लिए राजपूतों को भी डाउन कर दिया. All the Rajput that is in the politics, they are not helping any Rajput. Yadav, Mulayam Singh is helping own community. Mayawati community is own community. Everyone, they are doing their own community, but whenever we select some of the politicians, Rajput, they get the Rajput when they come for the vote. I am Rajput, I am your brother, give me vote and help us. But when they come in the top minister or other thing, they never help.
Sir, I think I got your point. It's not actually a question, it's an observation that you made. And I agree with what you are saying. We definitely need to. This is the last question you said. So this will be the last question. All right. We need to help each other. Let me give you a very small example. I shouldn't be quoting it, but since you raised my Rajput, मेरे में वो स्पिरिट आ जाती है ना, फौजी आदमी हूँ, तो मैं दिल से बात करता हूँ, इसलिए मेरी प्रॉब्लम होती है. I land up in trouble when I talk from my heart. I shouldn't be talking from my heart, but anyway, as a good politician, they never talk from the heart, है ना? तो but हम राजपूत में आ जाता है ना, जोश आ जाता है वो स्पिरिट. I want to quote another small example. You know, I was an instructor in the military academy in 1972. Instructor थे. हम 4-5 वहाँ पे कैप्टन्स थे, राजपूत कैप्टन्स थे. कोई यूपी का था, कोई वहाँ राजस्थान का था, मैं नॉर्थ से था, ऐसे का थे. आप मानेंगे नहीं, हम 4-5 इकट्ठे हो गए. हमने कहा भाई ये तो लेट्स डू समथिंग, लेट्स नॉट बी वेरी परोकियल, बट कुछ तो करें अपनों के लिए, जैसे आप कहते हैं. हमारे वहाँ हर 6 महीने बाद पासिंग आउट परेड होती है एकेडमी से, जिसमें 300 बच्चे ऑफिसर बनते हैं. तो उसमें हम जो नंबर 1 होता है बच्चा, उसको हम सोर्ड ऑफ ऑनर देते हैं. वी गिव इट द बेस्ट कैडेट, सोर्ड ऑफ ऑनर देते हैं उसको. हम चारों यंगस्टर्स ने सोचा कुछ करा जाए. हमने कहा अच्छा ठीक है. हमने देखा कि ऊपर जो 20 टॉप के लड़के चल रहे हैं, उनमें कितने राजपूत हैं, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द फैक्ट वो कहाँ का राजपूत है. हमने कभी परवाह नहीं किया कि गुजरात का है या वो मध्य प्रदेश. अगर राजपूत है तो ठीक है. हमने क्या कर चुपचाप से अपने ना 2-2, 4-4 नंबर बढ़ा देते थे अपने सब्जेक्ट से. अब उसमें क्या होता था कि वहां तो कंपटीशन एक नंबर के ऊपर होता है. सोर्ड ऑफ ऑनर के लिए आप गोल्ड मेडल तो एक होगा, तो इनवेरिएबली वो लड़का सोर्ड ऑफ ऑनर मिलता. हमारे सामने 6 पासिंग आउट परेड हुई, 4 राजपूत लड़कों को सोर्ड ऑफ ऑनर मिला. तो अब हमने कसम खाई, हमने कहा हम उनको बताएंगे नहीं कि हमने तुम्हारी हेल्प करी. वो जनरल बनकर रिटायर हो गए. वो उनको आज तक वो सोचते हैं हमने अपनी मेहनत तो नहीं किया. मेहनत तो दिया उन्होंने, कोई बात नहीं, क्योंकि टॉप 20 में तो आ गए थे वो, लेकिन वो पुश तो आखिर हम लोगों ने देना था. तो चारों ने अपने सब्जेक्ट के अंदर हम 4-5 नंबर बढ़ा देने, तो ऑब्वियसली टॉप पे आ जाता था वो. तो वो रिटायर पे हो गए हैं. तो ऐसे तरीके से हम कर तो सकते हैं, कोई शक नहीं है. लेकिन हाँ, एज ए पॉलिटिशियन, व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, सर, I tend to agree with you, but yes, but there are all kinds of, there are good people also, sir. Let's not be so this thing apprehensive of bad people. There are good people also who do a lot. I am aware of them. As politicians also, some are very people who help the community in general. ऐसी बात नहीं है. But in general, what you are saying, sir, I agree with you. We need to help ourselves.
They help individual help they, but
Sir,
community help.
Yes, I agree. As a community, we have
They
to.
never talk about the
Need to help.
community help. And
So,
one more, 1907, I came here for the Rana convention. There was what is the condition of Rajput in India. I have written, and that is from the association also. That was from the beginning, from Alexander to present day. I have written all the what is the condition of how that has been changed. And one thing we have written 207 and given to the President of India, the Prime Minister of India, that why all the Rajput, they are the best fighter from the Singh.
Our history is full of
several thousands of years.
Yes.
But still, Major General, Lieutenant General, and nobody is as a Chief of Army Staff.
नहीं हमारे बने सर, मेरे रेजिमेंट का वीके सिंह बने अभी बने थे.
After that,
आपके कन्वेंशन में गए थे.
after that, after 7 years.
जी ऐसी बात
वीके
नहीं.
सिंह इसलिए बने because J.J. Singh.
नहीं कोई ऐसी बात नहीं सर. He is my subordinate. I can tell you. When I was a colonel, he was a major, and we brought him up, and he done very well. Yeah, I'm very proud of that
We
fact.
have written in 207,
Yes.
and he become the chief army minister later on. I don't know. We have written the president.
Sir, अभी बहुत बनेंगे, आप फिक्र मत करो, we are in the line, yeah, बनेंगे. You absolutely. Okay, last question.
Yeah, I have a question. What advice you have for us here? If you have to advise us, what you say to us? What is it?
Sir, I have really speaking nothing. I mean, first of all, I must convey my deep gratitude and congratulations to Sadhana ji. The way you are leading a convention like this here, sir, it gives me so much pride. I feel so happy, sir. I wish I take this message back home. I can assure you that, sir. I'm going to give the same message there in India, back home. The way the Rajputs are doing this here, these conventions, why can't we have it on similar scale here? Let me do it, work it out, sir, and we'll definitely do that. Certainly we'll happen.
One question in the back. He was waiting for a while.
Interracial marriages, sir. Why not, sir? What is the problem? There is no problem. If we are inclusive people, sir, let's not get involved. No, sir. I am for it, absolutely. Let me tell you, my daughter is married not to a Rajput. He is non-Rajput, who is a brigadier in the army. But he is not become a Rajput because he married a Rajput girl. So I can assure you that. So it's fact. Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good morning. So anybody who wants to sit down with and question
Yeah,
anything,
most welcome.
you're welcome. And he has a fun thing to talk to any Rajput. So you are welcome for any question, anything.
Additionally, we will have another session for him, so you will have more of you to have lecture. Yeah, and you have
Yes,
time to
and,
talk to him, have any questions.
Bhupenji's speech is available for those that would like it. In the past, we've printed speeches in convention brochures, but we wanted to keep it private and keep it special for everybody attending to hear it first from the speaker prior to advertising it. On behalf of Rana, there are no words to describe. We wanted a decorated armed forces person to be here in Swam Apneha. So thank you so much, with all our respect.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Yes. Okay, come. Here we go. That's it. Just like that. Hold it. Good. Hold on. One more time. Everyone look towards the general.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to just take a detail.
At this time, I would like to do a quick family introduction. So I request that head of household, if you can please stand up and introduce your family quickly. Your name, where you're from, just a very, very brief introduction. I would like to start from here, our friends from Canada, and then I'll move across the room. Sure. You're not Canadian, but we'll start with you.
I already introduced before, but again myself, Gajendra Singh Solanki from New Jersey. My wife, Siddhika Solanki, she is working in Bank of America. I have one daughter. Unfortunately, she is not here today. She is doing her medical residency in New York, so she could not able to make it here. Thank you.
Mataji, my name is Indresh Chawda. I am from Toronto, Canada. And my family, myself, my wife, we both are right now at home, but they are watching from the picture I am sending. Thank you very much.
Myself, Bharat Chawda from Toronto, Canada. I am practicing as a tax and accountant in Toronto.
Dr. Satish Desai, Calgary, Canada here. My wife, Jayashree Desai, as she is not able to join with me. I have two kids, one daughter and one son. Daughter is going to complete MBBS in India, and she's going to come back to get qualified in North America. And my son is in the, he's doing job.
The Southwest chapter, and now it's past president from that chapter. I have with me my wife, Rachna Singh. Ayush. He is somewhere outside. Thank you.
It's not gonna work.
My name is Gunwanshi Solanki. I was in New Jersey and currently I move to California. My wife could not join somehow. I have one daughter and she's in New Jersey. Thank you.
My name is C.V. Singh. I am doctor by profession. I am in this country for like 35 years. My wife is Kumkum Singh, sitting over there. I'm giving her a break. She is anesthesiologist. I got one son and one daughter. Son is neurologist, chief resident in Albany Medical School. My daughter is anesthesiologist. She is practicing in Chicago.
My name is Dr. Harnath. I'm Dr. Harnath Singh from Flagstaff, Arizona, and I'm practicing nephrology here in Nixon, Arizona. My wife is Rina Singh.
I'm from North Brunswick, New Jersey. My wife Chandrika, daughter Jamie, son Gaurav, and my nephew Nilesh. Thank you.
Rajesh Singh. I come from India. I'm a professor in Banaras University. I'm professor of genetics. My wife is a PCS officer in Lucknow. My daughter studies University of Maryland. She's sitting there. My father was vice chancellor of universities. My uncle was vice chancellor of universities. And we all three have come from India. Thank you.
I am Rajkeshwar Singh, State Information Commissioner, उत्तर प्रदेश, इंडिया। और मैं हूँ, मेरी 3 बेटियाँ हैं, मेरी पत्नी है, हम लोग लखनऊ में रहते हैं। राणा कन्वेंशन में शामिल होने के लिए हम लोग यहाँ हैं। My name is Arun Kumar Singh. I am from India, working with the Indian Express newspaper in Delhi.
Thank you so
Udit Rathore, representing my family, my dad, Abhay Rathore, my mom, Monica Rathore, and my brother Karthik. Thank you.
जय माता जी को एवरीवन। मेरा नाम सुरेंद्र चौहान है। वाशिंगटन डीसी दिल्ली में रहते हैं हम। वैसे राजस्थान डूंगरपुर से हम रहते हैं, इंडिया से। हमारी पत्नी सुमन जो यहाँ पे वीए मेडिकल हॉस्पिटल में सर्व करती हैं। हमारी बेटी अंजलि जो हाई स्कूल में है, नेक्स्ट ईयर शी विल बी इन द कॉलेज। हमारा बेटा जय चौहान, he was supposed to be here. He couldn't make it, and he's serving in the Air Force as a second lieutenant. And we have my extended family of students are extended. It's my sister's son, and it's my son Nagendra Chandawat.
Nagendra Singh Chandawat from Rajasthan, Bhagatpur, here in Harrisburg, Virginia. My wife name is Anjana Chandawat, and my daughter Manaswini Chandawat. She is a UBS student. Thank you.
Sudhir Rana, my wife Sunitha Rana. We are currently we are in Washington DC, and back in India I'm from Meerut and she's from Muzaffarnagar.
Representing my family, my dad Surya Singh, my mom Shiva Singh, my sister just started getting ready and running late like everyone else. Her name is Dhara Singh. She just graduated Rutgers, and I'm currently a junior at Rutgers in material science and engineering. So if anyone can give me an internship, I'd appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Sachi Thugger. I'm in 10th grade and I was born in California. And I have an older brother who is a freshman in college who was singing the national anthem with me, and he's Abir Sia Thugger. And my dad is Uday Sia Thugger, and he's a founder and chief technology officer of a software company. And my mother is Sarita Sia Thugger. And we are from Bilikva in western UP, but we currently reside in New Jersey. Thank you.
You don't have to look far for internship. He's sitting right here.
Hello,
I'm Divya Pratap. I'm here with my family. My father, Pradeep Singar, my mom, Rila Singar, my sister, Hina Singar, my cousin, Vinay. We're from Northern Virginia.
It's a candy man.
My name is Uday Singh. I'm here with my family. My father, Guru Singh. Lilavta Singh is my mom. My beautiful wife, Madhav Singh. And I have 2 kids. Veer is running around from here. And my daughter, Dia Singh. And we come from a place called Balia in UP.
Dad, Shailesh Parmar. My mom, Amisha Parmar. My sister, Hinal Parmar. And my cousin, Anija Parak. And we are from Toronto, Canada.
Hello, my name is Mahendra Singh Rana. My wife, Jagruti Rana. I have 2 sons, Parth Rana and Rudra. They both are around but not here right now. We are from Canada.
I'm Rajneesh Bennett. Actually, I've been with Rana since last 15 years. Since my wife Poonam. I have 2 kids. One is Abhishek Trinet. He's in 7th MD program, and later daughter is Varsa Trinet.
Namaskar, Nagendra Nath Singh, my wife Asha Singh, my son Rajsekhar, and my daughter-in-law Rashmi, my lovely granddaughter Ananya, and grandson Aryan. My son Rajsekhar is Cultural Secretary of New Jersey chapter. Thank you.
I was sitting over there, but I had to come down here to speak as one of the family members. My name is Daulasi Rathod, and I call myself from New Jersey because I lived in New Jersey for 38 years. And I just in the last 3 years I moved to Florida because my daughter and son, daughter Kirti Bara Rana, Jamai Sahib Dharmesh Ji Rana, and they have 2 beautiful children, grandchildren for me, Virali and Viraj. My son Nirav Si Rathod, daughter-in-law Mittalba, and also 2 grandchildren, Veena and Dev. I'm also proud to have my dad here, Sapal Si Rathod. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Divya Shandad. My parents are unfortunately not able to make it today. Virendra Singh and Jonathan, and yeah, here on behalf of them. I live in Williamstown, right off the Atlantic City Expressway. I'm gonna hand it off to my cousin Juba.
Hi, my name is Drew Thad. I'm here today with my mom. Also, unfortunately, my father couldn't be here, and I have an older brother as well, but he's not here today. And I live in Washington Township, New Jersey, so it's kind of local.
Like this in America, I just did a big boo-boo. I made a major mistake. My life partner, I forgot to who said the most successful people don't make a mistake? I made a mistake. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jaivansi Gohil. I'm from New Jersey. My wife, Rina Gohil. I have 2 sons. Ayush Gohil, 10, and I have my son, another son, playing with other kids, is 8-year-old. I'm also currently part of the New Jersey chapter, membership secretary. Thank you.
Jai Mataji ki, I'm Tejraj Singh Harda, my wife Savita Harda, and we have a 15-year-old son Vishal Harda, 10-year-old daughter Rajshri. We are from Kota, Rajasthan, back home, and now we are settled in Albany.
My name is Balaji Rajput. I am from Dallas, Texas. I have 2 children, a daughter and a son, and they did not make it because the daughter is searching for job, son is looking for grad school, and wife couldn't make it.
I introduce myself, Mr. Rajendra Wagela, my beautiful wife, Alkaba Wagela. I have one son, Mithil Singh Wagela, is right now at New Zealand. He finished his business, diploma in business. I'm from Virginia, Richmond. Thank you.
My name is Nikhil Singh. I'm here with my two wonderful parents, Nishi Singh and Akham Singh. My dad is the owner and co-founder of a company called 113 Industries. We're based in Pittsburgh. My beautiful sister can't be right here right now. I believe she's shopping, I think. She graduated college. She's 24 years old, and I'm currently in a 5-year program at Penn State, pursuing a major in social data analytics. And
Thanks. We are also, I grew up in Ajmer, which happened to be Prithviraj Chauhan's capital at one time in India, undivided India. I originally belong to, my parents are from Etawah, and my dad from Etawah, my mom from Manpuri. So we are Chauhans and Rathors and Bhadoria Thakurs. Thank you.
Jai Mataji to all. My name is Prakash C. Chavda from New York. I'm here with my daughter Purva Chavda.
Jai Mataji everyone, my name is Ashok Kumar Singh and my wife name is Sushma, and I have twins daughter, one is physician assistant, one is doing residency in Massachusetts. Thank you so much.
Jai Mataji everybody, my name is Yogendra Singh Solanki and I'm from New York, and here is my wife Lakshmi Solanki. We have two kids, Jay and Raju, but they are not here. Thank you.
Jai Mataji, my name is F.M. Jhala. My wife is Mona Jha. I'm from Tennessee. We have two kids. My son is a doctor, he's internal medicine. My daughter, she's RN. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Manisha Rathod. My husband name is Surendra Singh Rathod. He's not here right now, he's at work. I have two beautiful kids, David and Dhwani Rathod. Thank you.
और नमस्कार सभी साथियों को। मेरा नाम ठाकुर अनूप सिंह है। मैं इंडिया से आया हूँ ये राणा मीटिंग को अटेंड करने के लिए। मैं पिछले 3 साल से प्रयास कर रहा था कि इसमें आऊँ। साधना जी दिल्ली आई, उनसे मिला और मेरी पत्नी ने और हमने प्लान बनाया कि हम चलते हैं। मैं चेयरमैन हूँ मार्क कंप्यूसॉफ्ट का, दैट इज ए सेकंड लार्जेस्ट ERP सोल्यूशन कंपनी इन इंडिया। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि मैं नेशनल यूथ प्रेसिडेंट हूँ क्षत्रिय महासभा का, अखिल भारतीय क्षत्रिय महासभा। और सोशल पे साधना जी ने समय दिया तो मैं बात करूंगा। इंडिया बहुत तेजी से राजपूतों में इंडिया में यूनिटी आ रही है और जनरल साहब से भी कुछ बातें करूंगा, गुफ्तगू करूंगा। और वैसे मैं नेशनल काउंसिल मेंबर हूँ आम आदमी पार्टी का भी, तो सोशली पॉलिटिकली बिजनेस वाइज एंड दैट इज द स्पिरिट ऑफ राजपूत। थैंक यू।
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi everyone. On behalf of my family, we're here from the Washington DC chapter. My father is Sitendra Kunwar. He's also known as Dylan. This is my sister. She's older than me, Deepika. This is my mother, Karthi Kunwar, and my name is Davini.
दौलत सिंह जी, आपकी की तरह मैंने भी गलती की है, मैं क्षमा चाहते हुए मेरी पत्नी रुक्मणी से देखिए ये गलती हो जाती है। मेरी पत्नी रुक्मणी सिंह, मेरे 2 बेटे हैं करण हर्ष, और वो दोनों बोर्डिंग में पढ़ते हैं 11th और 10th क्लास में। थैंक यू।
नमस्कार एवरीबॉडी। मेरा नाम हुआ अजय सिंह, मैं मेरीलैंड से हूँ। आई एम ए बिजनेसमैन, बट ओरिजिनली आई एम फ्रॉम बिहार, मुजफ्फरपुर। एंड हियर माय ब्यूटीफुल वाइफ Archana Singh, she's also business lady. Here is my daughter Jaya Singh, she is medical student, 3rd year in Chicago. And here is my son Jay Singh, just he graduated from University of Miami, and now he is looking for career. And here is Sudha Singh. She is my wife's sister. She just came from India to attend. My Sarvaji also here with us, is in the room right now. And thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Yaduvir Singh and my wife Susma Singh. I am from Maryland and actually I am from Bihar, Muzaffarpur. Thank you.
Rathore, originally from Dobaria, Nagaur district, Rajasthan, settled here in Fort Worth, Texas. My wife Rajesh Rathore and my daughter Meera Rathore. I have one son, Abhimanyu Singh Rathore.
I'm representing my family here. My father, Mr. Dharamveer Singh Rathore, my mother, Vijayalakshmi Rathore, my sister, Shweta Rathore. We are from Ajmer, Rajasthan, and thanks to Rana for inviting us for this meeting.
Jai Mata Ji ki. Before I forget, let me introduce my wife, Dr. Tanuja Shekhawat. She is from Jhunjhunu, Rajasthan. She's a practicing dentist. My name is Dr. Ranveer Singh Rathore. We are from Toledo, Ohio here. I'm from Rajasthan, Nagaur, as Dr. Narendra Singh Ji. We have two kids. My son Yash is 9 years old. My daughter is 7 years old, Anushka. And my brother Jaivir Singh, he wanted to come but couldn't come. He is a neurologist in Chicago. My dad served in Indian Navy for 30 years, so I grew up in military environment. My brother served 28 years in Indian Navy and just retired this year. Thank you.
Quick announcement. Did anyone find a thumb drive? If you do, please, can you please give it to Mr. Rajshekhar Singh?
With Yadav, you guys want to stand up? Okay, so I have with me my beautiful parents, Narendra Singh Yadav behind me, my mom right there, Pritibha Yadav. I have my grandmother with me as well. She's a civil engineer, she works in IT. I'm currently pursuing an MD PhD soon. And my grandmother's, obviously my grandmother now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirit Singh Jadeja. This is my wife Kumud. She is from Gohil dynasty, and of course I'm Jadeja from Rajkot. I came here in the 60s when, forget about the Rajputs, if I can find an Indian, I'll cross the street and run over to him. Those were the days. We live in Voorhees. Now I'm retired. I'm structural engineer by training, but I spent my life designing and constructing the nuclear plants. My wife is working for a local school system. She refuses to be looking old or being called old. So she continues to work and refuses to retire. I'm retired. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Jaswant Singh Jala. I'm an MD anesthesiologist. My lovely wife, Hemba Jala. She's a medical technologist. We moved from Colony, New York, and we are retired in Monroe Township, New Jersey. We have 2 children. My daughter is married and she works for Food and Wine magazine. She's expecting a child in December. And my son is a professional musician. Thank you.
Jai Mata Ji. My name is Pratap Singh Gohil. My wife, Mona Gohil. I have 1 son and 1 daughter. They're not here right now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harsh Singh. I'm from Boston. I'm here representing my family. They couldn't make it. They're back in El Paso, Texas. Some of you from the New York, New Jersey chapter might remember my parents, Dr. Dharam Singh, who's an interventional radiologist, and my mother, Abha Singh. She's a college lecturer teaching political science and public administration. My little sister, May, she's doing her doctorate in public health at Claremont University right now. And my little brother's an undergrad student at UTEP right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Sona Chauhan. I am daughter of Prakash C. Chauhan and Kashmira Chauhan. We have our whole family here, so I'm just going to introduce everybody. Along with my parents being here, my eldest sister, Manisha, and her husband, Mehul Shah. And then the middle one is Rachna Sangvi, and she's here with her husband, Apurva. And I'm here with my husband, Deepak Dave. Oh, and I left out my wonderful niece, Arya, who's not paying attention, but you'll see her running around soon. Thank you so much. I did it! And that's my dad once again.
I'm gonna just walk to my family. So, my name is Avan Singh Pawar. We are from Haryana. We live in New York for the last 25 years. Here I'm with my wife, Neelam. She is from Sultanpur, UP. She has her parent, Dr. S.B. Singh. He professor of plant breeding and genetics in PAU Ludhiana. His wife, Sushila Singh. I'm here with my 3 kids, Karan, Kunal, and Tanya. Thank you.
My full name is Dr. Sabha Bahadur Singh. I belong to Sultanpur, UP. But I was professor plant breeding genetics biotechnology in Punjab Agriculture University, Ludhiana. From the very beginning, for some time I was a professor in the Hisar also, Agriculture University, but shifted to Ludhiana, Punjab Agriculture University. My wife is Sushila Singh. I have 3 children. One is elder is Neelam Singh, and son-in-law Avan Singh. He has just introduced America, and he is in exchange company. He is school, he is owner as well as doctor. My daughter-in-law, and my one elder son is previously he was here, Sandeep Singh. He is now in Canada, Toronto, and his wife is PhD in medicine. Previously she was here in Washington, then gone after marriage, she is now there. My son Sandeep Singh, he.
Namaskar everyone. I am from Haryana, Bhiwani, Bankura, and I am settled in now Philadelphia. I am a successful businessman here in Philadelphia, been like 10 years, and I have 2 kids. My elder kids is CPA, and one is in college, electric engineer. Thank you everyone.
I'm Mukesh Singh Parmar. I was born in district Bulanshahr, UP, but was raised in Jodhpur, Rajasthan. I went to one of the famous Rajput school, which is called Chapasni School. Here I'm settled in Philadelphia. My wife, her name is Vijay Parmar, and I have 2 daughters. One is in Temple University, second year. She's pursuing her pharmacy program, and I have another daughter, she's in 6th grade. My wife, she is a teacher in the school district of Philadelphia. She teaches chemistry there. Myself, I'm in IT profession. Right now I'm working as IT project manager for a company called BD, that's Becton and Dickinson in New Jersey. It's nice to see you all, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all. Thank you.
I'm National Manager in US Department of Agriculture. We help farmers all over the country. I have one son, Anuj Singh. He's a banker in Wells Fargo, and I have a daughter. She's event manager in Marriott International. My wife is here shopping somewhere. My daughter will be here in the evening. Thank you.
My name is Raj Chudasma. So what's up? Neelam is my wife. Neelam, can you stand up? She is the doctor, and she was supposed to do the Nari Chikitsa today, and me and her sit down over there for 1 hour. So please join her tomorrow. I got 2 sons. One is Nilraj. He did the Penn State graduate, and then he did, after the Penn State, he went to GW, and now he's doing the law. He's supposed to be here, but he's not. And the younger son is in UVA 3rd year.
Hello everyone,
My name is Prashant Singh Verma, and I have come from Gujarat especially to attend this function. I'm sorry my parents couldn't make it because of few medical challenges, but I'm sure for the next occasion we'll be here. It's a great pleasure to be over here and good to know everyone. Thank you so much.
My name is Varun C. Jadeja. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia. I'm representing my mentor, my idol, my parent here, Mr. Mahendra C. Chudasama. He's my brother's father-in-law. Basically, my parents stay back in India, but all that I am, it's mainly because of him. I have my elder brother and Bobby. They live in Philadelphia, KOP area. They're not able to join us because of some commitments. And also I'm representing Mr. Raj Chudasama, that's his elder brother, and his wife, and one of our cousin too, Mr. Indra Vijay C. Chudasama. Thank you.
Mahendra C. Chudasama from Dhandhoka, Gujarat. My wife Nalini could not make it. I have 3 beautiful daughters. As you say, the oldest one is married to Diviraj C. Jadeja, his older brother. They settled in KOP, Pennsylvania. The 2 younger ones, Bhakti Ba, who is 21, Devika is 19, both in the Penn State College, Pennsylvania. And they also could not come because they're all at the KOP with my older daughter. And of course, like you said,
this side, buddy. Everyone. Myself, Jaypal Singh Jala from Pokhara, Taluk Sangana, Ahmedabad. I'm studying my double masters in Europe, and it's my pleasure with the help of Indra Chudasama and with Balwanti Chudasama, I'm here to attend this meeting. Thank you very much.
I'm Gambhir C. Solanki. I'm a civil engineer, retired, and this is my wife, Priyamvada. We have 2 daughters. They are all grown up, married, and they have their own families. Thank you.
My name is Sunil Singh. I'm from Banaras, India, and live in Washington DC area. I'm a businessman. I'm past president of Rana. And here's my part of the family. They have gone for Black Friday shopping. I have 2 sons, that's my wife, and both sons are not here. And here is one daughter-in-law, another daughter-in-law went for shopping with her. And we have some family member from India. And I got 3 grandchildren. We are doing business all over the country, actually at least 6-7 states. And we, part of family, live in.
Wow, what an impressive audience. Fantastic. Thank you all for coming. Real great. My name is Dr. Vidyanand Singh. Let me make a little correction. Doctor, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a PhD from Georgetown University. I was in teaching as a professor for 14 years. Then I took early retirement, and then I got involved in reviving my real estate portfolio. And I want to mention something. Tomorrow I'm giving a paper on that. Apartment investments from my journey from rags to riches. It's a very informative book I have just finished. I'll try to make it available through Rana in about a month. I would highly recommend people who are interested in that business or wish to start. They should.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shivpal Vasadya from Washington, D.C. I work at the State Department. My parents, unfortunately, could not be here. They're Sajjanba and Vijay Singh Vasadya from Port Arthur, Texas. And my older brother is Dharmapal Vasadya, and he's an orthopedic surgeon in Houston. And our family is originally from Umargam, Bharuch Umargam, Gujarat. Thank you.
Did I miss it? My name is Shri Sisodia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My parents are in India right now, so they won't be able to come right now. But they're missing this. I'm always sending them pictures and stuff, so they are saying that next year they'll be here. I have my younger brother who's 25. He's in Atlanta right now. He was not able to come because of his work. Thank you, and Jai Mataji.
Jai Mata to everybody. My name is Dheeraj Singh. I will request my wife to stand up. She is Banu. And I was afraid that if I don't introduce her, I can't get a room again. So Chandral told me, you better go and do that now. And we have 2 sons and we have 3 grandchildren. One has just graduated from DU and working in McKinsey. The other is doing the hotel modeling courses in Barcelona this semester. Daughter get master also. And they are, I have 3 grandchildren, proud to have it. But I am very proud to see all these, they are my grandchildren. The young people come out with full force, bring all their youngsters and make the Rana Convention bigger, bigger and better. Thank you.
Did I miss anyone?
From Mansa, Gujarat. और मेरे हस्बैंड यहाँ ही है पर जॉब पे है एंड हम अलाबामा जॉर्जिया चैप्टर के प्रेसिडेंट है एंड जय माता जी आई हैव वन डॉटर पूजा राहुल
Hi Pooja.
Dinesh Singh. I have a son and daughter. They are here, but not in this hall right now. And my wife is also here. That's about it. I live in Pennsylvania. I used to live in Jersey. I've been affiliated with New Jersey chapter for as long as it has existed. That's about it. Thank you.
And then last but not least, I'd like to introduce my daughter, who's here with me. Jasmine, can you stand up? And I am a daughter of Valdesi Rana and Durga Rana. We all reside in Princeton, New Jersey. They're not able to join us, but they send their love.
I'm the last, I guess. My daughter wants to be introduced. She said, Mom, what about us? So, I'm Sadhna, and my husband is Sunil. He wasn't able to join us today. We live locally. He could have ridden his bike, but he decided not to. And then Trisha's here, and my older child is coming soon, Varsha. She should be here. She had to work on Black Friday today, so but she's in the car, so she should be here soon. Thank you so much, everybody.
At this time, I'd like to give the microphone to Ambika.
Go up on stage. Yeah.
There is quick, short announcement for people, those are interested in knowing more about politics, rather here politics of America or it can be politics of India. We refrain from debating on our open platform due to our constitution of Rana. This is a family paternal organization, so please don't go into more detail on open platform, but you can privately discuss with a group or something, and it can be pursued that way. So please respect our constitution. Thank you very much.
I need to talk a little bit about some of the youth activities this weekend. So for the kids, given that it's Thanksgiving weekend, it's always very important in Rana to give back to the community. Tomorrow, the kids, they'll be making 100 bag lunches, which will be donated to the Trenton area soup kitchen. So that's planned for the kids tomorrow. And I just want to reiterate, the next Rana Youth Convention will be in July of 2017 in Texas, in Dallas probably. So I really encourage everyone and families, if you know any other youth that aren't here today, they should definitely come. It's a great opportunity to meet people and network and just make new friends. So I'll be sending out information probably after this convention of how to attend and how to sign up. And this weekend for the young adults, we have both social events and networking events, and all the panels that we have planned, I think all the youth should be attending, learn about your culture, learn about all the professionals that we have in this great organization. And adults, please go up to some of the youth. I know it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes to talk about internships and such, but please, introduce yourself. We're really lucky, like I said, to have so many accomplished people in this organization. So, I'm about to introduce one of our fellow youth. Her name is Jamie Yadav, and she currently attends the College of New Jersey, and she is incredibly intelligent and poised girl. She's very involved in the Rana community as well as on her campus. So she is currently a pre-med student, and she's an engineering student, and she's going to do a presentation for us. So let's give her our full support and undivided attention. Here's Jamie.
Hello. Thank you, Ambika, for that introduction. Jai Mataji, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying the conference so far. And I wanted to talk about a few things. But before I begin, I wanted to thank Manu Uncle and Sadhna Auntie for letting me speak today. When I originally pitched the idea, they were very supportive and forthgoing, so thank you. I also wanted to thank my parents and my family for always being supportive, and this time is no different, so thank you very much. And lastly, I made flyers for everyone to look over while I'm talking, so if you want to look over the flyers, just go ahead. So currently, I am a president of a club called the Foundation of International Medical Relief of Children at the College of New Jersey. And basically what we do is we are a nonprofit organization volunteering program that goes out and helps communities in third world countries and developing countries, and we try to provide them with medical aid. We have about 100 members, and I am currently president. So what our mission is basically we need to educate our community, we need to make sure the resources are available to people who don't always have money. We need to raise money for supplies such as water. Some people have flu shots that don't get flu shots in developing countries, so we try to raise money for that. And basically we raise awareness that all these problems are happening around the world because we live in a great country and not all of that applies to us, but we still have to remember that around the world people are still suffering. So this year I started a project in Kodaikanal, India. It is a service project for water filtration. So basically there is a product called LifeStraw, and it is about 9 inches and 2 ounces. It is a portable water filter, and you can drink directly from streams and lakes. So a lot of people in India, they have to travel far to get water. I know people have to boil water to remove bacteria sometimes. And even when they have access to water, it's very limited. So what we wanted to do is basically raise money to purchase LifeStraws and send them to India. We have currently we have a team of advisors in Kodaikanal, India. They're in a clinic right now, and they told us that a lot of people have diseases related to water contamination. Diseases like malnutrition, anemia, diarrhea, and dehydration. So basically, what our idea is, if we raise enough money to send these LifeStraws to people in India, they can use them. LifeStraw, if you guys want to look over the TV, that is about the size of a LifeStraw. It lasts for a whole year. It can filter 1,000 liters of water, or 264 gallons, which is enough for one person to drink for a whole year. And it removes 99% of bacteria, chemicals, and even urine and salt. So people can easily drink from the water. Another thing I wanted to add, that a LifeStraw is only $19 US. That is about one meal here for us. So if people were to donate about $20 even, you can give one person in India a year's worth of water supply. Our goal is to reach $10,000. We have raised about half of that in my college so far, and we needed Rana's help to get the rest of it. If you want to look at the TV, there's 2 kids drinking lake water, and they're using the filter to drink. So it's effective. It's used in 64 countries around the world, and so people are using it, and it's highly effective. Next, and if you want to look again at the TV, before is the dirty water, and after, when you drink and people spit it out, you can see that the water is 100% clean. So why should we donate? I know for one, I grew up here, so I don't always understand that not everyone has the luxuries that we do. I think it's important for us to give back to the community, especially India, because it is our mother country and everything. So we should definitely give back and help those that are in need. Also, I know sometimes I drink a water bottle and I won't even finish all of it before throwing it out, but I didn't realize that so many people had water contamination problems in India. So it really opened up my eyes, and I highly encourage everyone to donate, and please just help out my club and organization.
For your dining pleasure, only one floor down on the M floor we have lunch. But before we break, I just want, I've invited somebody to rally the afternoon session. 1 second.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a great morning session. Let's give a big round of applause to our chief guest and the committee members. And thank you so much for your participation. We have a great speaker coming up at 2 o'clock. Dr. Jiten Singh, he's here with us. Please stand. And Safa and all. And he's going to be speaking at 2 o'clock sharp. So let's be respectful of that and let's enjoy lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, folks. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And I must, at the risk of embarrassing General Bhupinder Singh, I must tell all of you that I was sitting next to him at lunchtime, and when I read about him, I realized that he had served in the Rajput Regiment, 17th Rajput Regiment, and it so turns out that this is in fact a family regiment for us. My uncle, one first cousin, had both served in 14th Rajput Regiment. My uncle, in fact, in World War II, in North Africa, when they were the 14th Rajput, I think it was the 14th Rajput, they were part of the 8th Army under Field Marshal Montgomery. And they were in all the famous battles in North Africa. It also gave me great pleasure to know that my sister-in-law, whose father was herself a general, Major General Francis John Clark, Frank Clark, was actually his father's colleague, and he was my sister-in-law, Christine, Tina as I know her. Her brother was his course mate at National Defense Academy, and he was a Commodore in the Indian Navy, and in fact is living in retirement in Bombay. So great pleasure, great pleasure. And the regimental cap that you are wearing, I have seen caps like that in my family when I was a child, so great pleasure. Where is Raj? So I'm about to put him on the spot. I asked him and Sadhna some time back. First of all, Raj and Sadhna in particular, thank you for inviting me. When you had sent me the invitation, I was in fact still in Hong Kong. One thing I might briefly add to my very generous introduction is that I was away in the last 2 years in Hong Kong, being Dean of what is Asia Pacific's top business school at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. This is a new university which in just 25 years' time has become one of the world's top universities. And I was privileged to be one of the senior leaders in that institution, and the first Indian in its history, by the way. And I was hired in a worldwide, thank you. I was hired in a worldwide recruiting process, but I decided to come back because I wanted to be back in the US, and starting in January, I have been invited to come back to my alma mater, Stanford University, which is where Silicon Valley starts from. I've been invited to come back and be a fellow at a university-wide institute called the Distinguished Careers Institute. The name is a little pompous, but they invite 25 people from all over the world to come and spend a year or two doing anything they want. So next year I'll be at Stanford again. After I left from there, 33 years later, I'm going back to California again. So Raj's email to me, I asked him, so what should I speak about? And I'm going to quote him. He says very nice things about my background, and then I'm sure there are still many chapters to be written. We would very much enjoy hearing about your life's journey, where it started and how you got to where you are now. What were the highs, the lows, the challenges, the success, the failure, what inspired you, who inspired you, what was the motivation, how did you find your passion, what was your breakthrough moment, and how did being a Rajput have an influence on you? And please do that in 40 minutes. So I will do my best, and I hope you will not be disappointed. I've jotted down some thoughts, and in fact, Raj and Sadhna and all you wonderful Rana delegates, this is happening for me at a particularly opportune time. So I'm actually enjoyed thinking about, so what am I going to say? I'm a very devout, very staunch Hindu, but in a particular sense. I think some of you may enjoy this. I have studied the Shastras quite deeply, even though I was privileged to be part of the very high quality public school education system, which are really the elite private schools of India, and received the best of what India had to offer. Then I received the best of what America had to offer. And in the last few years, I would say for the last 10 years or so, I found myself going back very deeply into the roots of the Hindu tradition. And I make the distinction, as I think about it, between Hinduism as a religion and the Hindu spiritual tradition. Nothing against religion. I'm a very deep believer in rituals and have had the great privilege of doing them for many of my ancestors. It's very poignant, actually, that in my family of origin, I'm the youngest and the last surviving male. All the elders have passed on. Technically, if I want, I can actually use the title Thakur now. But this was for my father, so I'm not going to use it, at least not yet. Maybe in another 10 or 20 years, I'll feel comfortable enough. But what I've found is much more deeply than the religion. I found my identity being shaped by actually the Hindu spiritual tradition. And it's interesting, I'm a lifelong student of history, particularly Indian history, and I would say to you that in many ways, this is just a personal opinion, in many ways, literally the last 1,000 years before 1991 have been a period of decline of Indian civilization, particularly Hindu civilization. It was so remarkable. On 1st of January 2000, I found myself at the Somnath temple in Saurashtra, your area. I was at the Somnath temple, and as the sun was setting behind on the western side in the Arabian Sea, the thought occurred to me that this is the same place where symbolically the 1,000-year decline of India started. 1026, I think, or 1028, Mahmud of Ghazni sacked finally the Somnath temple like the 17th time. And Indian civilization went into decline, particularly Hindu civilization. Interestingly, if you go into the roots of the Hindu spiritual tradition, while there have been developments in the last 1,000 years, in fact, the real anchors are from the previous millennium. It culminates with the work of Adi Shankara, who is in, whichever century it was, 7th century, 8th century. So my anchors of my identity are actually in that first millennium Hinduism, the spiritual tradition. And if you have not studied it, I would urge you very strongly, go back and read the classics. There is very, very deep truth in that tradition. That's where I'm coming from. Let me just say a few words. I put my timer on. I'll try to stay with my time if I can. And of course, my phone is turned off. But I thought by way of giving you background, where am I coming from? I told you about the religious versus the spiritual. In all complete candor, I would tell you, while I still have many good years ahead of me, I was very privileged that my father lived till age 103. And in fact, till he was 102, he was just fine. And the best, I know there are medical doctors and scientists here, the best evidence that we have on the determinants of longevity. There's a very famous nurses study from Massachusetts, as I recall. The best predictor is, did you have at least one parent who lived to a ripe old age? You take everything else, every other explanation, nothing matters as much. What matters is what are your genes. You can make a mess of it if you start smoking and you start drinking and doing drugs, you'll just die faster. But what really matters is what are the genes that you're carrying. So I'm very privileged not only to be part of the glorious Rajput tradition. I come from a family where my mother, God bless her, is going to be 88 in 1 month's time, and she's doing okay, as well as you can at age 88. My father lived till 103, so there are many years ahead. But I've lived a very good and enjoyable and successful life. Quite frankly, when I left India in 1978, if someone had said to me, these are the things you're going to do, I would never have believed it. But you know, maybe similar to your life journeys, you put one foot in front of the other, and 30, 40 years later, you're in a very different place than where you started. And the journey itself is part of the adventure. It's not my purpose to say, look what a great life I have had, and I'm to be admired for that reason. Quite the contrary. In some ways, I have lived a very ordinary life. I've just tried my best. I've been very fortunate. Interestingly, I have met not only really wonderful people in India, but I have met really wonderful people also in America and across the world. Some of my main mentors have actually been white Americans. There are wonderful people everywhere. I'm not a great believer in giving advice. Everyone's life circumstances, particularly young people, might look at me and say, we might find something interesting here. That's fine. I'm not here to give advice to anyone. I'm just here to tell the story of my life, what were some of the main events, and of course, I'll answer Raj's extremely complicated question while I'm doing this. That's where I'm coming from. I'm a lifelong academic, so please bear with me if I lapse into a little bit of academic jargon or concepts, because that's what my life has been about. There's a very famous psychologist at Stanford whose name is Albert Bandura. He's recently retired, and he wrote a very seminal paper called The Psychology of Chance Encounters. If you were to go and Google it, I'm sure you'll find it on the internet. What does he say in The Psychology of Chance Encounters? Basic thesis is this: much more than we would care to recognize, our lives are governed by factors over which we have no control. This is not to say that our lives are random. It's not that we are going from pillar to post with no direction. No, there are certain turning points that happen. The timing of those turning points is completely random and outside our control. And nothing could be more true of my life than this. I was studying at Lucknow University, finishing up a master's degree in physics. I'd never even heard about management. And quite by accident, one of my classmates had gone to write the entrance exam for IIM Ahmedabad, which was virtually unknown at the time. This was in 1971. And I heard about this. It seemed very interesting. And of course, I applied to the school next year and was selected and took a turn in my life and went in a completely different direction. This theme actually follows all the way through. Some of the greatest global jobs that I have got have actually been a result of these chance encounters. When I went to Singapore, this happened because one of my fellow board members, when I was on the board of Infosys Technologies, was a very prominent Singaporean, and I was visiting him in 2006. He's Singaporean Chinese, and he says, his name is Philip. He's one of the people, Philip Yeo is one of the people that have built modern Singapore. There's a handful of them, there are some 30, 40 people. He's one of them, they have built Singapore where it is today. And he says, go and meet this guy, Su Guaning. I said, who is Su Guaning? He says, oh, he's the president of NTU. I said, why? He says, they're looking for a new dean. I said, I'm not interested. No, go and meet him. So I go and meet him. 8 months later, they offer me the job and I go to Singapore. What's very interesting is my years at Stanford, there was this very shy young man who was in his MBA first year. I was doing a PhD, painfully shy. He did his first year, came back to India. It was Mukesh Ambani. He's a lifelong friend of mine because he was junior to me when we were at Stanford together. One day in the 90s, there was a Wharton India Economic Forum at Wharton, which I was one of the people that helped create that forum. There was this CEO and chairman of a information technology company who had come to Wharton. We started talking, and he says, you know, next time you come to Bangalore, you must come and visit us. That was Narayan Murthy. So if you are walking the path, you just run into people. What you do with it is very systematic and totally non-random. But how the meetings occur is quite by chance. And I would say that's a very good perspective on my life as well. Things have happened, sometimes under my control, mostly not under my control. And I have tried to, in an ethical and transparent and high integrity manner, try to make the most of them. One last example I would give is, in the mid-90s, this actually has a Rajasthan connection. Mid-90s, there's a young man who's a Wharton undergraduate. He comes to take my class, which was an MBA class, doesn't do too well in the class, and says, I really want to get a better grade. I will redo this paper. And I say, by all means, and he gets an A+ on the course. That was Lakshmi Mittal's son, Aditya Mittal, right? They are now the largest steel company in the world. In fact, I was the first person in the entire world. In 1996, Lakshmi Mittal invited me to London, and I was the first person outside his family that he talked to. And in 1996, he says, Professor Singh, my aim is to one day be the largest steel company in the world. It's possible to do that. So anyway, this is my perspective that I'm coming from. I do want to, since we have been talking about family quite a lot, I do want to talk a little bit about my family. I already spoke about my mother and father, but it's also worth saying that my mother and father were the first generation who actually moved from the village to the city. Now will come a very interesting part of the story. So our ancestors originally are from, some of you will know this town, a town across the border from Agra in western UP. On the Rajasthan side, there's a town called Karoli, very famous for a Kaila Devi Mandir. Kaila Devi is the local name for Durga Ma. And our ancestors had moved from Karoli. There was a Raja Vijay Singh of Karoli. They had moved from there, and they were his descendants, and they moved to western UP. It's not a very big distance, maybe 100 miles or more. And they had moved into western UP, and both my mother and father are from around the Agra area, first generation villagers who during British times came into the city. In the early 1900s, some of you will know this as well, in Agra there is now a university called Raja Balwant Singh University. In the early 1900s, it used to be at the time Balwant Rajput College. My father was taken from the village by his nephew, who was older than him. You know how village relationships are. He was taken to BR College in Agra. Come with me. Now comes the very interesting part. My father, God bless him, as I said, lived till 1996, age 103. His nephew, my father's name was Thakur Jagram Singh. His nephew was actually Thakur Mahendra Singh. He was my cousin, basically, through the complicated family relationship. He was the father of Vijaya Raje Scindia. Her unmarried name, she's from my family, she was from my family. Her unmarried name was Lekha Divyeshwari Devi. And she was such a wonderful person. Once she became royalty, married to the Maharaja of Gwalior, she, till the end of her life, actually was connected to my family. My father was one of those very proud Rajputs who would never go, because the whole extended family would go there and say, look, our girl has become queen. They would go and ask for something. My father, to his credit, never asked either the Rajmata or before, earlier she was the Maharani, or her husband. Jivaji Rao Scindia, who died very early, never asked them for anything. So to the end of his life, she was actually looking at him as her father. He was a father surrogate. She didn't get along well with her father, which was a long and complicated history. I don't want to get into it right now. But in 1995-96, when my father was bedridden in his last year, in fact, she came and visited him one time, and it would have been obvious to her that he was not going to live. He was bedridden, and my father, till the end of his days, would call her Lekha, not Vijaya Raja Scindia. Are Lekha, Lekha, beta, aao, betho. He would talk to her. She came and she was the president of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. She had brought a garland of roses the size of his entire body. And she put it around him lying on the bed, put her head on his feet and wept, right? Because she knew he was going to die. Until the end, before she died, my family was in touch with her and she was very close to us. So technically, she was actually my niece. Complicated relationship. So the current Chief Minister of Rajasthan, in fact her daughter, in fact is my grandniece. And Madhav Rao Scindia's son is my great-grandnephew. But we are, Lekha, their grandmother came from our side, and she maintained very good relations till she was alive. And we have never really pursued it too much. And it's fine whenever we meet them. Vasundhara Raje, if I go to Rajasthan, I'm sure I'll meet her and we'll have a good time together. But that's part of my family. The other part of my family, which concerns two good friends who I'm happy to meet here, Dr. C.B. Singh and Kumkum, whom I have known for a long time. This was a part of my family where they were both students of my cousin, Dr. R.V. Singh, who eventually retired as Vice Chancellor of Lucknow University. He was my aunt's sister's son. And so that's another part of my family. I was telling General Bhupinder Singh, we have had many admirals and generals and, air commodores, my own brothers, my cousins, my uncles, and a whole bunch of us have served in the armed forces, as well, including Dinesh Singh Chauhan, Lieutenant General, head of Central Command, who I think regrettably from what I've heard passed away a couple of years ago. The final part was Shailendra Kumar Singh, who was governor of Rajasthan, and someone mentioned that he was from Nagaur. Is the gentleman here? Someone was from Nagaur. And in 2008, he invited me to come to Rajasthan and visit him. I was in Singapore at the time, and I went there, and he was, of course, governor of Rajasthan. We flew in his private plane, went to Nagaur, and it was a wonderful occasion because that's the last time I wore a safa. Maharaj Gaj Singh was there. Because this is all part of Jodhpur's old kingdom. He was there and we all sat on the stage and he spoke Rajasthani, introduced me, and of course the governor was there, Mahamuhim S.K. Singh. And what was wonderful is he was speaking Rajasthani and I still speak fluent Western UP dialect. I could understand everything that he was saying. The language is the same. And the day was that they were putting up a new statue of Amar Singh Rathore, who was from Nagaur. And in fact, I was there when this statue was inaugurated. I could go on about my family history, but I'm going to shift gears and talk about some different things. Suffice it to say that the story of my family literally could be the plot of a Hindi movie. Both in very positive ways and unfortunately in very tragic ways. I was telling General Bhupinder Singh in 1965, my brother who unfortunately passed away in 2011, he was retired as an Air Commodore in the Indian Air Force. And in 65, he was a young man, beautiful, handsome man. He was a flying officer. He was taken prisoner of war in Pakistan. And if you remember, there was an armored column coming from Lahore, trying to cross the Chogil Canal and all. These are the guys that went and bombed it. And the armored column stopped. So it saved future battles, but in fact, he got caught and we didn't know if he was dead or alive for 3 or 4 months until we got, in November, a letter from Switzerland through the International Red Cross, where he had written that I'm okay. General Cariappa's son was also prisoner of war. Eventually they were returned in January 1966, and he went on to have a good career in the Air Force. Anyway, what do I want to say next? Raj asked about breakthrough moments. I think it is in the same spirit as the psychology of chance encounters. I firmly believe that when these turning points come in our lives, in the moment we frequently don't recognize what is the true potential for this to change the future. It's impossible to recognize. You can't tell. Given this Hindu spiritual tradition, particularly from the first millennium and even before that, I have come more and more to believe that, in fact, there is no such thing as good or bad. There is no such thing as enormous success or great tragedy. Everything is there before us all the time. What matters most is how do we respond to what occurs. So some of the breakthrough moments where my life has taken a turn and gone to levels which I would never have imagined actually have been responses to tragedy. In 1966, 2 weeks after my brother came back from Pakistan, my oldest brother, who was the superstar of the family, you may remember this, 1966, 7th February, I think, maybe 9th February, there was a plane that crashed Panihal Range in Kashmir, Indian Airlines plane. He was a co-pilot of that plane. He was 34 years old and he died, right? It changed my life. So that has been a breakthrough moment. I suddenly, for whatever reason, I can only now recollect or make sense after the fact of what might have happened. But suddenly I was at Colvin Talukdar's College in Lucknow. Suddenly I was at the top of my class. I still can't tell you what happened. But that was a moment of great liberation, moment of great change in my life, moment of great tragedy in the family. Another such moment I would tell you is in 1973, when I left Lucknow University. I was studying to be a physicist. I went to IIM Ahmedabad. Nobody knew about it at the time. Today, in 2016, it is still recognized as one of the top institutions in the world. I was very fortunate that I went there. Another breakthrough moment would be in fall of 1979. I had just come to America, and I had just been offered full fellowships to study at Harvard, at Stanford, at Carnegie Mellon, at MIT, at Wharton, at Yale. This was one of the wildest dreams that I had, and it had all come true. The other thing I will tell you, I had mentioned my father, and he died in 1996. He was 103 years old. I hope you will not think this is too macabre, because again, in the deep Hindu spiritual tradition, the heart of Vedanta and the Upanishads and the Shastras, death is nothing to be feared. You're a warrior, you know what I'm talking about, you embrace death. That is the heart of the Raj tradition. So we are standing there in Lucknow by the Gomti River. My older brother, the Air Force General, is busy collecting the sandalwood. We are going to cremate my father. And this protege of my father, he was very, very prominent man. He was Cabinet Secretary of India. His name was Mr. Ramkrishna Trivedi. He eventually retired as Governor of Gujarat. I had known him as my older brother my entire life. I'm standing there totally stunned. Here's my father about to be cremated. He comes around me. I hope everyone speaks Hindi.
Yes.
I will translate if not. He comes around me and puts his, he was like 6 feet inches tall. He just passed away 2 years ago in Lucknow. Comes around, puts his arm around me, and he says in Hindi, "Beta, aankh khol ke dekho, daro mat." What a profound knowledge he was handing over to me. He was a pure Kanakupj Brahman. He says, "Beta, डरो मत, इसको पूरी आंख खोल के देखो, यही जो है जीवन का सत्य है. This is the truth of life. Do not be afraid. Open your eyes and look. Look carefully. This is the true meaning of life." Then he goes on to say कि जीवन में कुछ क्षण ऐसे आते हैं. There are these moments in life जब माया का पर्दा जो है खुल जाता है. When the curtains of Maya are parted and you see जो सत्य है वो तुम्हारे सामने स्पष्ट होता है. The truth will be there revealed before you. Says, बेटा जो तुम देख रहे हो यह वो क्षण है जिसमें विरक्ति मिलती है. इसको शमशान विरक्ति कहते हैं. Virakti is, this is a moment of liberation, and this was one of the most profound gifts to me. Here is this old man who is obviously himself thinking about my time is coming, and he gives this gift to me, and I tell you, all my fear of death has gone away. This has been one of the great gifts. Now I'm going to go into the point about the Rajput identity. This is a very complicated matter, and I have had the benefit of studying philosophy, the Hindu spiritual tradition, and I hesitate to say what I truly believe because it may offend some of you, but I will still be courageous and talk about it. But before I do that, I want to say a little bit more. What I have found fascinating is that our Raj tradition, which I am deeply influenced by, actually has echoes all over the world. I have in recent years done a lot of work in Japan. What is very interesting is the samurai tradition in Japan is exactly the same set of values. And contemporary Japanese, when I talk to them and I say, and they are so close to me, Japanese are very formal people, they are so close to me. One of them, Masataka Ota-san, as I know him, he says, "Shin-san, you are like my brother," right? I was there in 2013, in the month of August, like our Shraddh in India, Pitra Paksh. They have a similar thing in Japanese culture. And he says, "Would you come with me when I am doing Shraddh for my parents?" He took me to the cemetery. And while he was reciting mantras, which interestingly enough, he thought are in Japanese, they are all old mantras in Sanskrit actually. They sound Japanese, they're all in Sanskrit. And I recited, like Shiva's Mahamrityunjaya mantra and all. He was so thrilled. So the Japanese tradition has something called Bushido, same way of the warrior. And there is a very interesting Western movie, which if you have not seen, I would recommend. This is about the fall of Jerusalem to Saladin. It's called Kingdom of Heaven with Liam Neeson. You should see this movie, Liam Neeson, Eva Green, beautiful movie. And there is a scene in which Liam Neeson is dying and he's going to anoint his son as Count Balian, and he's going to go to Jerusalem to save the Holy Land. And here is what Liam Neeson in that last scene before he dies says to his son, "Kneel before me," because he's going to make a knight out of him. "Kneel before me," and then he slaps his face and he says, "Have no fear, speak the truth, protect the weak." And that slap was to remind you of your humility so that you would follow in God's path and learn how to love. That is the path of the warrior. So I would say to you, I grew up in a very proud Rajput family, very, very accomplished people like my cousin Dr. R.V. Singh, like my niece, my late departed niece, Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia, and many others, generals, admirals, high-ranking Air Force officers. And yet, I would tell you, this is now the complicated part, and we don't have time to really go into all the details. While I am still extremely proud of my identity, one of the things I began to discover over the years is, at least in my personal journey, there was the need to go beyond the Rajput identity. While it is still a defining feature of who I am, so in fact this protect the weak, speak the truth, even in my business school dean's jobs in Singapore and in Hong Kong, this is exactly what I do, you know. No one needs to protect the strong, you know, you need to protect the weak. People in power will do all kinds of crazy things. Someone has to stand up and speak for the right thing, right? This doesn't always make me a popular person, but it's the right thing to do. So what is interesting is I have found there are different layers of my own identity. And what I have gone to more and more, while a piece of my identity is still very much that of a Rajput, I think the deepest core of my identity, in fact, is that of a Hindu. And there is no contradiction between them. It's the Rajput part is just the Kshatriya, the warrior part. The deeper anchor is really deeply in Hinduism. And in a sense, there is an opportunity, I think, to be a little kinder to oneself in the Hindu identity. The identity of the warrior at the end of the day, this is my take on it, the identity of the warrior at the end of the day is you are basically primarily an instrument. You know what I'm talking about. If your king in the old days or your prime minister or president today says, go and do this, you basically don't ask any questions. That's who you are. You go, and if necessary, if you're a soldier, you die. Of course, there is a level of commitment to a higher ideal that is required. There is also a level of self-sacrifice that is required, also a level of completely putting aside your own needs as a human being, as a soul. This is a supreme level of sacrifice. This is not needed. While I have the identity of a warrior that's part of who I am, this is not what's needed with me. And instead of fighting like the general here with guns and with swords and bullets, I fight with words, which you are doing as well now. So I have been more comfortable falling back into my own roots, into our roots of a Hindu identity. That has been my way of resolving this. The issues are there. If you think deep enough, if you look deep enough into your own heart, the issues are there. They have been there for thousands of years. Philosophers were talking about this in 1000 BC. They'll be talking about it long after we are gone. The point I'm making is each one of us has to come up with a synthesis and say, this is where I am today. And I've shared some of my synthesis with you. 2 last points and then I'll stop. Take some questions. One is, what have I learned? I thought this might be of some interest to you. And the last is sort of, where am I going from here? Let me just share some thoughts with you. What have I learned? Some of this may be surprising to you. Actually, brilliance is cheap. Lots of brilliant people. It's partly a problem of the career track I have been on, the universities I have been at, the best in the world, this has been my great good fortune. Everyone is brilliant. What really sets you apart is how much are you willing to work hard. And brilliance is cheap. There are lots of brilliant people. The people who end up making a difference are the ones who also work hard. And what is truly different is you have to lead a life of integrity. I have been on the boards of major companies. I've had access to insider information. The temptation was always there. Go and do something. Trade on this insider information. Integrity really, in my way of thinking about it, is what do you do in the dark of night when nobody is looking? That'll define who you are. No one else may know, but you will always know. God will always know what you have done. And you will have to deal with the consequences. I've also I've seen the world, I've been extremely fortunate. I've now lived in, worked in, lectured in, taught in, consulted in, I think 65 countries all over the world. And there is good and evil everywhere. And by the way, these are the core foundations of Vedanta as well, of the Hindu spiritual tradition. Good and evil is everywhere, and they're the same thing. They're two sides of the same coin. The world, as the Tibetans, the Buddhists call it, this is old Hindu thinking. This is samsara. The Buddha talked about this. The Buddha was a Kshatriya, Rajput, like us. The world is samsara, and basically there's everything there. What matters is, what are you going to choose to do when your turn comes? I believe very much in the importance of karma. I believe very much in prarabdha. Now this is an audience of fairly like-minded Hindus and Rajputs like me, so I will tell you this. I am also actually a follower of the path of Kriya Yoga. I've been doing it for some years now. Paramahansa Yogananda was one of the last realized masters, so I learned from his students. And doing Kriya Yoga has actually changed my life. If some of you have read the autobiography of a yogi, Lahiri Mahashaya, who's the first person who actually gets taught Kriya Yoga by Mahavatar Babaji, the cave in which he actually initiated Lahiri Mahashaya is in the Himalayas outside Ranikhet, a few hours drive. I have been in that cave and sat and meditated many times. This is real. This is real. Prarabdha is real. Past life karma is real. Reincarnation is real. So I am answering different master. All the rewards are not to be obtained right now in this life. Even so, even though I'm doing Kriya Yoga, I also believe that Karma Yoga is important. My life really has been about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. I'm still on the path, increasingly in Bhakti Yoga as well. The last thing I would share with you is, if I have followed the path I'm on and I want to continue till the end of my days, this may seem a little strange to you. I actually do not let my life be governed too much by the judgments of other people about me. You have to follow a light within yourself. Anything you do, anything you say, even the words that I'm sharing with you right now, within this audience there may be some people who absolutely love it and some people who absolutely hate it. And I accept both. You have the right to feel the way you do. It is not going to change the path I am on. That is between me and my God. That is between my Atma and the Paramatma, and I'm answerable to no one else. In many religions, this is blasphemy. In Islam, I would probably be killed for saying that. It is completely consistent with the deepest Hindu tradition. Ultimately, each one of our relationships is only to our God. Yes, we have all the duties that we have in the world around us, and yes, it behooves us to fulfill them as fully as we can, but we cannot get confused about what is the ultimate aim, which brings me to my final point. Where am I going now? Professionally, I would think, as I said, I'm going to Stanford starting January next year. I may spend a year, maybe 2 years. I'll get more involved in Silicon Valley. The CEO of Google, by the way, Sundar Pichai, is a former student of mine. I taught him at Wharton, and I taught him high technology entrepreneurship. And he's now the CEO of Google. His salary, I think, is $150 million a year. I'm going to see him next year, find out what he's up to. More and more, I have discovered, and please don't think of this as being arrogant, making money is actually quite easy, not complicated. You can do it, I can do it in so many different ways. I think what I'm really more interested in is, and this is why I'm going to Stanford, this is like one ashram has ended, I'm going to the next ashram now. It's a detaching from the world and sitting back and saying, how can I contribute best to the world now, given all the gifts that have been so kindly given to me by the world? And this, by the way, again, in the ancient Hindu spiritual tradition, those of you that know this word, this is what the ultimate journey is about. The ultimate journey, which is the path of Kriya Yoga as well, in the Shastras, it's called the journey to Kaivalya. That's what it's about. So thank you very much. I hope I have not been too esoteric. We'll take a few questions.
My name is Raghavendra Singh. I have a question for you. What excites you? You know, what basically you'll be very happy what's happened to you, then you'll be very excited, you know?
You know, is this still working? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to give you an answer which you may find very strange. And maybe this is the path of Kriya Yoga. Not too much excites me, actually. Not too much excites me on the positive side, and not too much excites me on the negative side. There is a Sanskrit word for it, Atmaprajna, I think, or Sthit Prajna. I'm not saying I'm an enlightened master, I'm very far from it, but as you walk this path, you realize that there are higher things that are going on. When the mind is ready, when the soul is ready, when the heart is opened enough, your feelings actually change. So one of the very wonderful things that I've done, and if you haven't done it, I would strongly encourage you. 3 times I have read Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. In the Sanskrit, in the English translation, and then the commentaries. And the phenomenal thing about Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is, this is written, this is actually compiled. He didn't write them himself, he compiled them around, it's not clear, few hundred BC, few hundred AD, but they were already in existence, he just brought them together. Sankhalan kiya tha, collation. And he says, oh, by the way, as you keep doing this practice, you will start to see that suddenly you will look at someone and you can tell what's going to happen in their future. And he says then, these are minor siddhis. Don't get caught up in them. This is a sideshow. Let it be. Just keep on your path. So what is very interesting is, in a very modest, minor manner, on the path that I'm on, I've started to see things. And I just try to do what Maharishi, Patanjali was a great Maharishi of his time, but he says, keep following the path, keep doing your Kriya Yoga, keep doing your action, keep doing your Karma Yoga, keep doing your Gyan Yoga, try to be a force for good, don't get caught up in this. So naturally, in fact, the excitement goes away. Equally, by the way, the disappointment goes away. You know? I was mentioning to Chandrabhushan and Kum, my mother, who will be 88 in December, she suddenly took ill. Of course, my nephew Girish is now back. Vinita is in ophthalmology at your old medical school. They took her to the hospital. She has diabetes, so she had some blood sugar complications. I'm sitting here in America. In fact, I was in Brazil a few days ago. I just came back 2 days back. And I thought to myself, you know, she may die. And truth be told, I want her to live as long as she can. I keep talking to her every day on Skype. And I think to myself, well, if it is her time, it's okay. It's okay, because we will meet again. And what's important is, I have done at every step of my life, all through, my dharma with her, as I did with my father, as I will continue to as long as she's alive. And we will do our best to keep her in good health. When it's her time, it's okay. I've even talked to her about this. And she says, it's fine, no problem. So, long answer, but I'm in a different place. Someone else?
I have one question.
Please.
It may be a dumb question. The question is, what is your goal of doing Kriya Yoga? And if you achieve a certain level, then how it will impact you? How it may affect your life, but how it may impact people's life?
So, it's not a dumb question at all. Frankly, I mentioned the word Kaivalya. And ultimately, in this old Hindu spiritual tradition, the journey that we are on ultimately is a solitary journey. This is not to say that we give up everything of the world and wander off into the mountains, which people do. There are people in the Himalayas, I have met some of them, who have just completely left the world. It does happen, by the way, this may seem strange, but that's the really excellent part of your question. If your consciousness takes you to a certain place, for some highly evolved people, they have nothing to say anymore. So they go away. They basically are in contemplation, and this is what moves them. To answer your question, what is my goal? It's not easy to answer. I had all kinds of goals as life goals 30, 40, even 50 years ago when I was a young child in India. The honest truth is, without sounding too arrogant or vain or full of myself, by God's great gifts to me, I have succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. Those goals simply don't matter anymore. Of course, I know that money, while it's not the most important thing, can buy you lots of comforts in life, a good life. I'd like to leave something for my children. If I think of goals that I have myself, there are 2 or 3 things I would say. One is, and this is the journey of Kriya Yoga, my ultimate commitment is to the evolution of my own consciousness and my own soul's journey, of which being a father, a brother, a son, a husband, this is only a part of the journey. There is a higher journey that's also going on. I'm keenly aware of that now. Beyond that, at another level, I would say my goal in life now is to simply to bring back to the world the gifts that have been given to me. Whether it is through words, whether it is through actions. I was very, very privileged in that I was able to help create some great institutions of learning, both in India and in Singapore. Indian School of Business, I was one of the 3 co-founders, not now, 20 years ago. And I just want to keep giving these gifts back. Money-wise, the truth is, God has been kind to us. I cannot spend the money that I have. There's no point in earning even more. I'm not opposed to it. If the opportunity presents itself, I was talking with one of you who is in the biosciences world. If the opportunity presents itself, and there are such opportunities, it may be possible actually to not only make tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars. If that happens, if that's where my Karma Yoga takes me, I'll go and do it. But the real issue will not be the making of hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. The real gift will be, think about bringing biosimilar drugs to the world of high quality at a low enough price that tens of millions of lives can be saved. That would be satisfying.
I'll start. So thank you so much for sharing some of your various experiences, and I think you would be best fit to answer this question I have for you.
Please.
So you originally talked about choice encounters, right? These could be
chance encounters.
Sorry, chance encounters that could be turning points in your life.
Yes.
Right? So from your various experiences, can you think of similarities among those chance encounters? And can you think of how to recognize those chance encounters and how to capitalize on them? If based on those similarities. So if for us youngsters, if we're presented with those encounters, right, that randomly appear.
I know where you're going. It's a very good question, but if I may, remember that I have been this Ivy League professor for much of my life. So the privilege of the answering the question is that you can always reinterpret the question. I'm going to do that. I think the more interesting part for your purposes is a slightly different question that I would ask. It's not similarities across these turning points, it's similarities in how do you respond to these once they occur. That's the key. That will determine what your actions will be. The turning points, as I said by definition, they come without rhyme or reason. You've just got to be on the road and things will happen. By the way, it cannot be, you can't be sitting inside your bedroom or your basement and playing computer games and think that things will happen to you. You have to be out. You have to be out on the playing field for lightning to strike you. That's a very important choice you have to make. That said, what I would tell you is that, and I have a lot of experience in China, so let me take an example from China. What's fascinating in China is that the character for opportunity is the same character for danger. The Chinese character is partly interpreted as opportunity, partly as danger. So one of the things about these turning points, and sometimes they appear very, very simply. You are at a dinner, at a party, standing next to someone and he or she asks you a question. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't come with a big flag saying, I'm an opportunity. Just something happens. And this again is deep in the heart of the Hindu spiritual tradition. The entire universe is there. So this is back in deepest Vedantic thinking, that there is a world in which we live, like right now. This is the manifest world. There is a latent world, which is always there. And this is, by the way, what Patanjali talks about in the Yoga Sutras. That which is real with a capital R is always there in the background. This is what Mr. Trivedi was telling me. Watch this closely. This is the deepest truth. This is a moment of virakti for you. And the curtains are parted and you will see the real for what it is. Sometimes you see this reality. And it's hard to describe, but with life experience, if you're fortunate enough, you will get to see it. The potential is there in every moment. The potential to do infinitely great things, both for yourself and the world, and infinitely abominable things, both for yourself and the world. Because it's the same world. It's this infinite potential. What you learn is how do you tap into that potential? Interestingly enough, some of the questions that were asked of me, so what are your goals now? What are you going to do? This model that I'm talking about actually implies a very different choice. It means doing nothing. It's what is called very alert waiting. Just be ready. Just be ready. And when the unique gifts to bring to the world, do you have the courage to put aside all those cacophony of voices and judgments you hear from the outside and trust that which is within you? That's the ultimate path. If you learn to trust that, things will happen. Put one foot in front of the other. Keep on 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. In my case, this is a journey that's coming to close to 50 years now, right? Things will happen. And remember, as long as you believe this I will tell you because I genuinely believe this, anything that you truly desire, you can make it happen. But you have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe that it's possible and that you have what it takes to make it happen within you. If you don't believe it, it's never going to happen. If you dare to dream, it may happen. That's the difference.
And we're going to take our last question.
Last question, and then I need to run to my car and go back to Philadelphia. My sincere apologies. Yes, please.
My question, in your speech and your talk, you said that you study a lot of Indian philosophy, Patanjali, and Veda and all, maybe.
Yes.
So my question is that God has given all bad and good to us. He has given egos and jealousy to us.
Yes.
How we can, in your experience and in your study, how you can tell us that we can reduce that magnitude of the egos and jealousy?
This is a difficult question, but let me try to give you the best answer I can, which is from another of those wonderful chance encounters that I had when I was at Stanford. Mukesh Ambani was a first-year MBA. So was this young man who has gone on to become one of my best friends. And in fact, tomorrow night I'm taking a plane. I'm going to meet him day after tomorrow in Bombay. His name is Akhil Gupta. And Akhil, if you look at Reliance Industries, until the early 1990s, Reliance was only doing petrochemicals. There was Vimal textiles, polyester, suiting, etc. That's all they were doing. They were a petrochemicals company. Even in business jargon, we call it only a part of the value chain. In the early 1990s, they diversified into a lot of different things, including building what is today the world's largest petrochemicals refinery in Jamnagar, in Gujarat. The person who did all that diversification work was this best friend of mine. He was best friends with Mukesh. He was living in Seawind in Colaba. Dhirubhai Ambani was very fond of him. And I got to be friends with them over the years for that reason. One day I was complaining to my friend Akhil about something. By the way, he retired 2 years ago. He was chairman of Blackstone, the private equity firm for India. And he retired in December 2014. He has just finished 2 years at Harvard doing a similar thing that I will be doing at Stanford next year. So Akhil says to me, I was complaining about it, this guy is so corrupt, I can't deal with him. He's a very dear friend of mine. He says, JV, I'm going to speak in Hindi and English here. Hamari tumhari ek hi problem hai. He calls me JV from the old days. I said, you and I, he says, we have the same, we have one problem. I said, what is it? So he says, we make the mistake of thinking the guy who is sitting in front of the table, across the table from us, is just like us. You're a high integrity, transparent, honest person. I think I'm like that as well. This is a great mistake. By the way, he lived with Reliance all these years, did all their work, and yet he was offered this job after a 1.5-year due diligence by Steve Schwarzman in New York. He's a multi-billionaire. And nothing about Reliance and all the news that keeps floating around ever touched him. This is a bit like the Ramayana analogy is Lanka mein Vibhishan, right? He was untouched by everything. He was offered this job. So what does he say? So I said, Akhil, so what should we do? He says, JV, you have to understand the world is a jungle, right? This is the Buddhist notion and the Hindu notion of sansar as well. There's all kinds of good and evil. In the jungle, he says, there are all kinds of animals. There are horses, there are elephants, there are alligators, there are lions, there are tigers, there are dogs, there are cats, there are jackals, there are snakes, there are scorpions, right? So he says, the task that we have, there's no point berating them, how can this be, why is this guy a snake? He's a snake, what can he do? You have to recognize who is it that you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a dog, he's going to be loyal like a dog, right? If you're dealing with a horse, he's going to be a horse. If you're dealing with a scorpion, he can say whatever he wants, he's going to sting you. If you're dealing with a snake, he's going to bite you. Be prepared. You have no choice. You have to deal with these people. They're there. By the way, this is particularly true of positions of leadership. You cannot choose. There will be thousands of people around you, and it will be like the jungle. You know what I'm talking about. Everyone who has served in a senior leadership position, whether in government or in industry or in the armed forces or in education, it's the same all over the world. There are all kinds of people. You have to learn to look beyond and see what is not being presented to you. This is, by the way, old philosophical tradition in the Hindu tradition called Sankhya. The truth, this is very deep actually, very deep. The truth in Sankhya is defined not by this is true. It is defined by this is true and this is untrue. The two together define what is the truth. Ya satya hai, ya asatya hai. So, this is a microphone, but it is not a car. To give you an absurd example. It's a different view of the truth. So you have to learn to live in the world, and you have to know what is the animal that you're dealing with. That's the best I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh.
Sure.
That was amazing, Dr. Singh. Let's give him a big round of applause, please. The time just flew by. I mean, we started at 3 and here we are, it's 3:30. It's unbelievable. And I'm sure we could have sat here for another couple of hours. It's just amazing, inspirational, motivational. Thank you so much for your time. We're honored. And on behalf of Rana, we'd like to present you with this.
Thank you very much.
Get a little bit closer, please. Here we go. Hold on, buddy. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. All right. I'll take your leave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I feel so bad. I wish the Rana youth were here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a professor.
You can tell them about it.
Oh,
Thank you so
no.
much.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my leave now.
Thank you. Have a safe trip.
Thank you very much. जरूर साथ
My brother Javi, Dr. Javi Singh was to present this talk, which is particularly focused on weight loss, exercise. As he could not come in the last minute, I will take 15 minutes to cover this topic and 5 minutes for question and answers. So the topic is weight loss, diet, exercise, and healthy lifestyle. We all have a desire to stay fit, look good, and live long and live healthy. And obesity is the big concern in today's life. In the United States, in my practice in internal medicine, I'm seeing quite a few times now that the children are in their 50s and 60s are sick with health problems, and the parents who are in 80s are in better health and taking care of their kids. And that's very alarming. And this is supposed to grow further because of the lifestyle changes and the diet and the poverty. This is affecting everybody. This is the other way around in India, where obesity is more prevalent in prosperous people. Unlike United States, this is a problem with lower socioeconomic people. Now, what can we do, as all of us are interested in staying fit and lose weight? So, in my practice, I have a significant number of patients who are concerned about the weight problems. So I've tried to summarize this in couple subtopics, and how to lose weight or maintain a low weight and keep that way for the rest of your life. The key problem for most of us is portion control. So to divide this into how to lose weight, the first is that obviously we have to cut back on the calories intake. Second is increase the calorie burnout. And that's the only two ways. There are no shortcuts for that. Now, to decrease the calorie intake further can be divided into, one is that use medications to suppress the appetite, which is very popular because that's the easy way out. And the second is surgical methods, bariatric sleeve surgeries, gastric bands, and gastric bypass, Roux-en-Y. And so there's the medications to suppress the appetite, surgery to get the appetite low by surgical maneuvers, and So these are the two main, but what is more important than this is the behavioral techniques. So what do we do so that we can control this? Because most of this obesity is related to behavioral problems. One is that increasing a large amount, increasing fast, watching TV while eating, and so this is what the concern is. So what advice is that the first and foremost thing is the behavior control. The key part of the behavior control is the portion control. So if you can have a smaller amount of plates and take 15 minutes of break before the second serving. So if you get a smaller plate and you take whatever you need, portion control small, finish that weight and wait 15 minutes before you say you want to go for the second serve. And whenever you do that, 15 minutes is an average time lag between what your stomach has and what your brain knows. The big problem is the portion control. Second thing is choosing the food. Everybody seems to be concerned about this is a high calorie, this is cheese, this is too sweet, and I want to eat this, not this. That's a very good thing. But trying to understand the glycemic control, which is the new terms for quite a few years now, is that the foods that releases sugar instantly, like if you have plain sugar or candies and chocolates, versus rice or wheats or even proteins. So the more fast releasing sugars increases the insulin release and further depression and leads to further appetite increase, that kind of a stimulant when we have appetizers. So try to avoid any food which are instant high calorie releases, particularly the sugar and related sweet materials. Third thing is pharmacology, which everybody seems to be interested in, and come to the office and say, hey doc, give me some good medications. I can't seem to control weight. My weight has gone up by 20 pounds. I'm not eating much. I'm exercising. I can't lose weight. So it's very harsh to say that, but so many people who have been to starvation camps or concentration camps, nobody came out fit or healthy. Most of them, or almost all of them, came starving. So that you can't say that you're taking less calories, burning more calories, and still not losing weight. The math doesn't add up. It's same like a bank account. What you put it in, what you take it out, that shows your bank account. The same way it is. So pharmacologically, there are quite a few drugs, 4 and 5 drugs mostly I've used in my practice to attain a weight loss. Now, what is the real target for you to lose weight? What medications are there and how much weight I'm going to lose? That's the key question for most patients will ask. So the right answer for is 10%. So if you can lose 10% in first 6-7 months, that's what is expected. If you lose less than 5% of your weight, then we have to stop that medication in the first 6 months. And if you lose more than 15%, that's out of the norm, that's out of the bell curve. So don't expect, like if you weigh 90 kilos and you expect to lose, 18 kilograms. That's more than 20%. That's not what most people would expect. So average will be if you're 90 kilos, then you can expect to lose at the most 9-10 kilos. And that is why you're on the prescription. So what we're trying to achieve is that while you're on this medication, which most of them are appetite suppressant, is that try to eat smaller amount, because as a stomach as a muscle grows bigger if you eat large amount of food. And every time it gets bigger, you can eat more and more food and your appetite will still not be suppressed. So by eating small amount of portions for a long time, which is 6 months, 12 months, your stomach shrinks. When the stomach shrinks, which is exactly the same what we're trying to do in surgical procedure, which is sleeve or bands or Roux-en-Y surgeries. So the appetite, suppressing the appetite shrinks the stomach and you can be satisfied with even smaller amount of food. So the few medications that we commonly use, I would like to use one of the medications that has very good results lately is liraglutide. Commonly you will see as a Victoza, which is typically used for diabetes. It's a shot once a day, and by Victoza brand it comes in up to max of 1.2 milligrams subcutaneous injections like an insulin. But this comes in 3 milligram dose. FDA approved it I think a year ago or so. And I have had patients who have lost 100 pounds. But those patients are typically already weighing 350 to 400 pounds. Those are morbidly obese patients with multiple health problems. So I don't use it typically for anybody who say my BMI is 27 or 30. I would use it more like a BMI of 40 or patients in 350, 400 or 500 pounds even. So that's one. The side effect of this is obviously nausea, vomiting, which is Actually, that's how it helps, because your appetite will be suppressed, you'll feel sick for most part of the, but because it's injectable, it's a daily shot, it's not one of the more popular ones. The other one is Belviq lorcaserin, which is 10 milligram twice a day. It works with the serotonin hormones and it suppresses your appetite, and it can reach up to 10-15% of weight loss in a year. If you don't achieve more than 5 pounds, then 5% of weight, then we stop it. So same as the appetite suppressant. But while we're using this medication, what I advise my patient is that the key idea is to, at the end of the year, you should be already on a small portion control. Without the medication, you should control your portion. Once you control the portion and you are up and about person, you will lose weight. There's no reason why you couldn't. The other one is, which is I think popular in India as well, which is Orlistat. Orlistat is a fat absorption inhibitor, and it causes diarrhea, flatulence, a lot of fat. Because particularly in India, fat seems to be an important part of everything. Roti, bicho padke, ghee, halwa, everything. So, but it has got a lot of side effects. It's not that popular here in US. Here it's mostly appetite suppressant. And the other one is phentermine with Topamax, which is one of the anti-seizure medicine, anti-headache medicine, which is a combination works and also helps to suppress the appetite. So these are the pharmacological ones. Surgical ones, I briefly talked about. Surgical, now people think that what surgical options are there. So surgical options are particularly for, as I said, for those particular patients who are Victoza patients, morbidly obese, very high BMI. The surgical risk is very, very low these days. They're doing laparoscopically sleeve surgeries or bypass and bands. The surgical risk is pretty much similar to having a laparoscopic gallbladder taken out. So it's very highly skilled and it's very low risk. But long-term morbidity is much higher. Long-term malabsorption for a lot of vitamins. It can cause bowel obstruction as a later on. And so those side effects are to be kept in mind. But immediate surgical risk is very, very low. Other thing is, a common thing is asked is that how should we burn the calorie? What kind of exercise should I do? So typically it's whatever you like to do. But once we talk about elliptical versus treadmill, which one is better, or a road running, that road running causes arthritis or not? So the answer to those questions is that typically road running has there's not enough evidence to show that the running on the roads with good decent shoes, I would say, which you change every 6 months, has not increased the risk of arthritis. So you shouldn't be debating much. If you like to run, if you have good shoes, good technique, road running is not a problem. You can do that. Now, what about the elliptical versus the treadmill? So there's some studies suggesting that the elliptical burns 1.5 calories more than a treadmill. For practical reasons, treadmill is a little higher impact running than the elliptical, and it has got risk of injuries by falling, because you are constantly trying to run on that treadmill, and if you don't pay full attention, you can fall and hurt yourself. And there are lots and lots of evidence of people getting hurt on the treadmill. So my personal suggestion is elliptical is a better machine, low impact, less risk of falls, higher burning calorie with elliptical. You're using your hands, using your legs without impact, without fall of risk. So I would highly recommend. I have both of them in my house. So somebody who is preparing for marathons, the treadmill is a better choice, but elliptical is otherwise burning calories. Other important thing I would suggest is swimming is one of the good exercises. Those who suffer from arthritis, hip or knee issues, those who can't do a lot of these kind of running, the swimming is a very good exercise. You can burn a lot of calorie. It is not a weight bearing, so you can use your whole body to burn calories, and it's a good entertaining as well. So these are the topics. I was to give 15 minutes. I'm pretty much over on that. Anything you want to add?
Just few things I want to add. Like in my practice, we do some weight control also with my colleagues. Like what I tell them, eat like a bird. So small portion, and then high protein diet like chicken and those kind of things are good because they stay longer. If you eat a lot of rice, they get digested quickly and then you get hungry. And then what Ranveer was saying in terms of, like I tell them to have some brisk walk, like 15 minutes a mile, like a couple of miles a day. So those are some easy way to go. And I do write prescriptions also, what he was mentioning about phentermine. These are basically ADHD medications and they suppress the appetite. But there is a limit, you don't don't want to overdo that. So eat like a bird, high protein diet, low carbohydrate, and calorie intake and out is like math. Like we have a BMR, basal metabolic rate. Even if we don't do anything, we lose certain calories. Like say, depending on the weight, 1,000 calorie or something. But it's a math. Like what you take, you need to put it out. So if you walk like brisk walk 3 miles a day, you are burning like 300, 400 calories. And then your basal metabolic rate is like, say 1,500. So we are talking about 2,000 calories. So if you are going to eat more than 2,000 calories, you should walk more than that to make a balance. Otherwise, there will be increase in weight. And if you want to decrease the weight, then your calories loss should be more than the intake. So, any questions?
Yeah, one more thing is 3,500 calories is an average for a pound. So if you burn 3,500 calories, you should lose 1 pound. So you can do your math on treadmill or elliptical that how many calories you are burning, and then you can add up and expect the good weight loss target should be, I think, not more than a pound a week. Any questions?
No, I'm fine. I'm okay. Yeah. Because we have a small crowd. I, as a person who's dealing with the weight problems, and if I have to decide, we have so many people around, so much food around. There's a lot of fried food, a lot of cooked food, a lot of carbohydrate, a lot of proteins. And I myself is dealing with a weight and health issue. What are the major things I have to decide myself in terms of those choices of the food or choices I make myself?
Well, once in a while binge eating, I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think you need to torture yourself too much. But if you're not diabetic, if you don't have other significant health issues, once in a while binge eating is not a problem. But I would say that still the pleasure of the food doesn't change us if you just still keep a small portion. If you like the chicken, you like the ice cream, you like gajar ka halwa, even a small portions will still do the trick, will stimulate your brain enough. But stuffing up too much is only make you regret in an hour or so.
Diabetes plus the people who want to lose weight. Can you emphasize on that?
Yeah, fiber is basically a filling. It's not digested. It's not absorbed. It's just make the bulk of the stool. Which the benefits are it prevents constipation. It prevents diverticulosis. As a filling thing, it helps suppress appetite because it stretches the stomach and gives a sensation of satiety. So I think it's always a good idea to add extra fibers, which is typically in the form of salads. But it could be in any other forms as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and I know you emphasize the high protein food, which is important to maintain the body mass and to reduce the carbohydrate, so slowly decrease the weight. But any suggestions for the vegetarians? I know curry cheese.
There are lots of options for vegetarian. I don't think there's any limited to non-veg too. So all this dals and and you have chanas, and there's so many things in vegetarian that can add up to the high protein diet, because it takes longer for digestion of the protein, and it's not converted into fat as the other forms is. And if you're not using it, if not bodybuilding, that will be urinated, and so it's a good idea. Vegetarian has no less options than the meat.
Any research that I've read, I'm a registered dietitian, that the fiber does absorb some of the sugar. Is it any finalized on that research for diabetes?
Not that I'm aware of. Fiber does absorb some of the toxins as such, but not loss of any absorptions of the sugar. One is the other is metformin, which is some pre-diabetic or diabetic would use. It has got some element of acarbose like drug and activity, which inhibits the absorption and digestion of the fine sugar. So metformin can cause on an average 5 to 7 pound weight loss altogether, not like monthly, daily, altogether, if you keep it year round. So that does, metformin is one of those which will inhibit the digestion absorption of the sugar, same as the acarbose would do. So these are the true medication that does that. But I'm not aware of any study where fibers will help inhibit the sugar absorption.
Those two medications you take, if you forget before dinner time, can you take it after dinner or within how many hours?
Most of the meds I have described here is one is a shot once a day, so irrespective of what you eat. The other ones are Belviq, which is twice a day, which is also on a long-term basis, gets a steady plasma stage concentration, affects the suppressant, but it's not directly related to what time you should take it. There are some other foods like Orlistat and acarbose. Those are typically adjusted according to when you eat, so that they act while there is food to be digested.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rathore and Dr. Singh. I just want to make one plug for, as a pediatrician, all of these habits that we have, they start very early. So, you know, there are a lot of grandparents in the room and parents in the room. The food that you feed your children and the food that you feed your grandkids, it definitely affects their choices as they get older. And it's not easy to then decide to lose weight and make changes once you're in your 20s and once you're in your 30s. So it's important to think about this even when dealing with your young children, that, you know, their food choices matter. And once again, let's give a round of applause to the two doctors that were on. Okay, and now we have a tea break until 4:20. And then we're gonna have the Women in Business talk in the Grand Ballroom led by Monaba Gohil. And at the same time in here, we'll have a talk on local and national politics by Sunil Singh and Naresh Chabda. Okay, thank you.
About 40, like my dad started his business 40 years ago, and we are 3 sisters, and we didn't have a boy in the family, so they wanted one of us to actually go into the field, and from the 3 of us, it was me. So 15 years ago, I joined, and it was a very interesting ride. You would think that because it was my own father's company, it would have been a little easier for me, and it definitely wasn't. It's a very male-dominated industry, and it was very hard to have them listen and understand me, I guess, because I was a woman, and especially because in our industry, it's many Indian men. So from that, you know, honestly, the challenges that I had was the confidence, and gaining that confidence because of the respect. Funny story is actually I took my husband, we went to India on a business trip last year, and we were in a meeting, which, you know, I go with my dad all the time, and in this meeting, I'm asking, you know, him all the questions, and he is looking at my husband he's answering my husband, who has absolutely no idea about the industry or the business. And, you know, it was one of those things where finally I have that confidence, and I feel very secure in what I'm doing after all these years. And I looked at that uncle and I said, you know, he's not the one going to spend money in here, it's going to be me. And it actually, you know, that is, I think, underlying what women face with any industry is having the respect. And that's really, really important to teach, I guess, the younger generation and plant that seed for our brother or, you know, our own children, you know, for the future. For my 2 sisters are going to have boys. My oldest sister is going to have twins. So, you know, just all that stuff is very, very important. And I think those are the things that we need to really work on as women, is kind of teach our own children, our own boys, or you know, the men around us, what we want and what we expect. So those are the challenges I face. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next participant is Mrs. Kusum Singh. Kusum Singh is our current Vice President of NEC. She has an IT, I'm sorry, I'm reading as somebody has written this for me. She is an IT professional and has been in IT business for over 20 years. I would like to present Kusumji, please. When I came to this country, I had, from India, I had a graduate degree in English. So this was long time back. So when I came here, I started asking around what field would be good to start looking at from the employment perspective, which pays good. And people started suggesting IT is a good field to go into. This is 80s, and software is a field that is coming up. So I thought, let me first start taking courses in IT, see if I like it. So I signed up for a few courses in a community college because that was the cheapest route to go. So there were 1,000 people in that community college, and somehow I did not have a technical background when I came from India. Out of 1,000 people, there were only 4 people who had perfect GPA, 4.0 GPA in computer classes. So somehow, and finished it, and then went into IT management later. So passion is very important. If I did not like it, I would have dropped it and pursued something else. So to be successful, passion is very, very important. So whatever you all decide to do, it's very important to know that you all really love it. Because if you all don't love it from heart, probably you will not excel at it later on. So, and secondly, at work, it's always, because it's still a man's world. Most of the professions are still man's world. So it's very, very important to always speak up. Don't just be shy, especially for Indian women. It's a bigger issue because of where we come from. Sometimes we feel we are not speaking the right way or whatever. So it's very important to always speak up. If you don't see something right or whatever, don't feel timid or don't feel shy. Always speak up, and it has served me well in my career. It always served me well. You don't have to be abrasive, but always speak up. So it served me well. So that is the message I would like to give. So always speak up. You see something, just say something. Our next participant is Trisha Singh. She's the granddaughter of Thakur Sahib J.B. Singh ji and Pushpa ji, and here, and daughter of Sadhna ji and Dr. Sunil Singh ji. She's currently living in Dallas, Fort Worth, and she loves traveling and sports. Here she is, Trisha Singh.
It's such a pleasure to speak with you all today. I was surprised that I was even asked. It's a blessing to be honored in this way and to speak with such esteemed women. And that's the first thing I was just thinking about. I did prepare some notes, but just thinking too about what would I say, about my experience. I practice healthcare law in a pharmacy setting. I work for DaVita. It's a Fortune 200 company, and on the front end we perform dialysis for patients with end-stage renal disease. And I support a subsidiary that is a pharmacy. And so in this setting, I rarely engage with anybody my age or my color or my gender. So it's oftentimes men who have children my age, who are mostly, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but are mostly Caucasian men who are overweight, and they have a completely different lifestyle than me, right? They're married, I'm not married, I don't have kids, and I'm thinking about where am I going to travel and what am I going to do, and the hours that we work and what we do is just completely different. So engaging with these people who are working in teams like this, it's a completely different experience. So oftentimes when I come to the table in these, intense negotiations, both internal, external, with companies, with the government, with any series of entities, it's one of the topics that was discussed was respect. So that is something that it's a struggle. All I'm trying to do is just study and be prepared to engage in the most sophisticated manner and to be as poised as possible, because in any setting, I'm always going to be scrutinized. And I think anyone in this room, especially women, and it's so great to see men too, but in any setting, you're going to see that everything that I do, every way that the way my face looks, the way my hair looks, the way I'm dressed, the way my shoes looks, like everything will be scrutinized by anyone. A lot of times men. And I've been surprised about that lately too. I'm like, oh, you noticed that orange dress that I wore with those, crocodile heels? Like how is that even something that you flagged? But it's something that sticks out in people's heads. And it's always, something that my mother, taught us at a young age is it's your brand. You put yourself together well, and even in these events, everybody looks gorgeous, and that's the way you look, and that's a lot of times I put myself together in order to get into a mindset of how am I going to approach the situation. Being the youngest, I'm always the youngest person in every room. Nobody is less than, nobody's even in the 10, 15 age range of me, above or below, So it's different, it's different to speak in a certain way. I have a thicker Jersey and New York accent even. And living in Texas, I've had to dumb that down. So what is that like? And what does that mean? Nobody wants to hear a Jersey girl in a boardroom. They want to, right? Like they just.
I'm from Texas. I take that as an offense as a
Yeah. Well, I know, right? Yeah. Well, Texans, I was offended too. I was like, I want to, be offensive, and I want to be Jersey and New York, and it was different. Yeah. No, it's great, but it's different, and so part of me is thinking about this context, right? Because it's you're scrutinized about the way you look, about your dress is too tight, your dress is too short, your dress is too long, your dress is too loose. It's literally across the board. So part of me is like, okay, all I can do is accept that that's your judgment, take what I can from it, and move forward. And being a strong female Rajput woman, I was raised by strong female Rajput women. I'm surrounded by them today. I'm so proud. And one thing about working in a corporate setting is that no one has ever made me feel bad about being aggressive, which I love. Because at home, it's not great to be aggressive and to be loud. And Mom knows this, I'm verbose and, sometimes beyond gregarious. I can be rude and I can be short and a lot of things, it changed probably after law school. And so I think that in a corporate setting, if there's a way that I can be more of myself in that way, and I think that there's a way to change corporate America, because I'm seeing that it's the same issues you see in every newspaper, right? I'm not paid enough. I'm paid half as much as men in my same role, in my same position, less than me. I mean, that's why we have the election that we have today. It's frustrating. I'm angry, so I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take it out in my negotiations. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to talk about it all the time, because that's what you have to talk about it, because everybody does, men do it. It's the same thing as why was I chosen for this panel? I feel like a man would just come up and be like, yeah, I was chosen. I know everything, and even as a fresh graduate, I've only been practicing for a few years. It's still worthy of being a part of a session, and I still have some wisdom to impart. So I think one of the things that I'm hoping in engaging in corporate America is that I can be more of myself. We can bring this female energy, this lack of a hierarchy, but more of a collaborative approach, where you can empower one another, where we can amplify each other. When Vidyanti is saying something in a meeting, I'm like, I agree, and this is how I think that we can make that idea better. Or what I mean? There's ways where we can build off of each other, and I think this is an opportunity to collaborate and learn. And that's my spiel. Thank you.
That was wonderful. And Singh and daughter-in-law of again Pushpaji and Thakur J.B. Singh ji. She is also the founder and chief executive officer of Montgomery Mortgage. I would like to welcome Vivaji. Please.
It is an honor to be on this panel with such accomplished women. And I do not have much experience in the corporate world. I started being self-employed about 20 years back. And I'll give you some comparison between self-employment and being in the corporate world. So according to the 2010 report prepared by U.S. Department of Commerce, sorry. Okay. According to the 2010 report prepared by U.S. Department of Commerce, the self-employment in women has jumped up by 44%. Of this, the minority-owned women businesses, they make up twice for this jump. And why is this a growing phenomenon? Why is self-employment increasing in women, and especially in minority businesses? The first reason is there's a big gender discrimination in wages. You see it all across. You interview two people, and if there is a married woman and with the same qualification and a single woman coming and a guy coming, of course you will prefer the single people because you know the liabilities that come with women that have kids. So the recent market studies have shown a wage gap of about 10 to 20%. There's a huge, still this gap is there. Also, it has been noticed most self-women are married, and self-employment gives them a greater work schedule flexibility and ability to do their family commitments, like in my case. The third reason is most self-employed people work from home or have an office that they establish near their home. So the commute time is half. And it saves a lot of time, time and money, of course. And then as a business owner, you have to be master of all trades, as we have to continually adapt, learn, and update our business skills as clients come with their own challenges. No one client is the same. Each client comes with its own challenge. Of course, everybody knows business expenses can be written off. They are tax deductible, so that's an additional benefit. And then we are creating jobs. We are helping the economy. So for me personally, working gave me a lot of flexibility while raising my two kids and of course managing my household. I was always traveling with my older one. She was on the fencing team, so we were never in one country. Every 2 weeks we were traveling in Europe, and even with that schedule I could manage my business with the internet and the cell phone. And this would have been very tough if I had been in a corporate world. In a corporate world you have to go through so many layers to get that leave approved. So this really helped me. And also it helped me in the last 2 years to be a caregiver for my mother who was very sick. And now working for yourself is never easy. That's my message. It's never easy. It comes with its own challenges. We have to be sure we are meeting the goals and making sure that you are able to make that payroll, pay your business expenses, and keep the sales for the next month. So what the experience that I have is when I'm doing home loans, I find out most of the women, they're ignorant of their finances because their husbands are managing their loans or the mortgage. You ask them, they don't know anything. So my message is please educate yourself, because when you have an unfortunate circumstance, then you will find out what happens. Even though you're not on a mortgage, you're equally liable for that mortgage. And I'll give you one example. I had a very successful physician who came to me. Her husband owned 5 homes, but she had no clue what was the mortgage, what was the balance, what were the terms. And he passed away suddenly. So my message is to please know your finances, because in unforeseen circumstances, you might be in a hardship, you will find out. So self-employment has worked for me, and my company is all females. We do not have any males. And recently my daughter joined me. I hope she can take it further. And thank you again for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Vivaji, for a wonderful talk. I would like to thank all my panels, the ladies here. Please give them a big round of applause. I would also like to thank Sadhnaji for giving me this opportunity, to present a women's forum today. And after listening to the ladies, I have a question. I really think this is important. That in today's day and age, in the 21st century, do we have gender equality? Let's ask ourselves this question. Let's not just fool ourselves. I don't think it's gender equality as yet. We have to go miles. We have to try. As we all know, even in corporate world, the salary for a man and woman with the same education is not the same. Anywhere you go, I can give you an example. Say there's an application for a few women and a few men. Do not mention what gender they are. You might have chances of getting that job. But if you mention in your application that this is a female, and even though with more education than your counterpart, chances are that you may, as a female, not get the job. So, I've seen it, I've been through it, and I agree that we have a lot of milestones to go. So for women here, this is a good opportunity to express ourselves and work towards it. And I think we'll achieve our goal one day, if not now, maybe for the future generations. But we have to start working now. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening to everyone here and your time. And we really appreciate it. This is not over. We still have some fun going on here. So I'm going to hand this over to Sadhnaji.
No, it's your farm. You do it. But I want to give you this. We have some raffles, guys.
We have some raffles and there are some winners today in this session. So let's get our first winner here. You have raffle tickets, please look at your numbers. And
Gender wise.
Sorry.
I just want to say something. I was
Sorry guys, I skipped one step ahead. If anybody has a question for our forum, any of the members here, please go ahead.
I actually have a comment. I was listening to NPR News, and they were talking about. I obviously came in the middle and left before it was over, but they were talking about an orchestra, a very famous orchestra, and how they hire different instruments to play in their orchestra. There's just music. It comes with no description, where it came from, which country, male, female, schooling. Do you think it would ever be a world like that to get a job? How awesome would that be? That's all.
I have a comment, if I may.
Sure.
Yes. What I would like to say is in response to, I forget your name, but the last panel that said that women really need to know what's going on and be active. I think it starts from our families in order for us women to be confident and to know what we do. I'm in the financial services world, and I've been in the business 34 years, and I go to people's homes and I talk to husband and wives. Half the time the wives don't want to listen to what's going on with the finances or insurance or assets, and I have to force the women, bigger women, please sit and listen. And she goes, oh no, my husband takes care of it. It's so important for us women to know what's happening, whether your husbands have insurance, whether they have any assets, because this is what Vivaji was talking about, women not knowing what the husbands have in mortgages. Can you imagine all the assets and all the paperwork that the women are not aware of when their husbands go? So I would really encourage, and about women not having equal pay, education is
Very important.
Yes, you said it very well. Education is the number one. We women have to study harder. As women, we have to be, way above men to show that we are smarter. And it starts within the families. Know your business. Know your husband's business. And find out what's going on at home. If you start at home, you become confident, and that's how you can face other challenges. So I think it's very important. All the things that women need to know about their finances. And if your husband says, oh, it's okay, I'll take care of it, say, no, I want to know what's going on. I'm 50% partner. I should be able to know what's there. So I think you should go home and educate yourself and encourage yourselves and your daughters to be proactive in what's going on. Thank you.
Chat